All right, yeah, so third way up in the series, you know, start with the nymph, and then we tied the little bubble back merger. Split wing, a lot of fish just focus in on the crippled insect, and this is a little cripple that we like to tie, really similar to the other one, similar materials, real simple. This one is on a Masu K3 in a 14, yeah. Anyway, super cool shape on this to get that little back end hanging down, and then we're just gonna have our little cripple part sticking up the top. But this Krinklezon bomb, been tying it for quite a few years. This one came out of the old shop, Caden Step and myself one night when we first started playing with this stuff. Just kind of trying to simplify a fly and make it still effective, and this is kind of what we came up with. So here we go. We'll start with our Krinklezon in copper, and I've got an 8/0 PMD Semper waxed, and we'll just go ahead and strap a small amount of the Krinklezon back where the thorax would be, and then we'll just wind our way to the back. We like this hook because we get this cool curve down here. And when it comes to PMDs, Mayflies, that kind of stuff, fish see a lot of them. They get pretty accustomed to proportions. A lot of times that's going to be what triggers them, along with a couple other things, flash and whatnot. So keeping that body skinny can make the difference in a productive day or a not so productive day. So we're just going to do thread on this. You can see we've got our little curve going down like this. You could bring it down farther if you wanted, but this is plenty good on this. Might come just a touch farther, just to give it a little bit more animation. And then we're gonna have our float part sticking up here. So got my body tapered with my thread. I'll do one more. Like I said, we're gonna try to keep this on a diet. Skinny body. Getting a nice taper there with just our thread. And we'll leave our PMD thread hanging back here at the back, and we'll take our good old brown Sharpie and we'll just color our thread body. Brown, tan, even black. Black for Betis is great. Browns for PMD and caddis. Olive isn't a bad one. But basically I'm just doing a thread body. I've done the brown Sharpie on there, and I'll show you why in just a minute. Go ahead and clip our Krinklezon, so that's our trailing shuck. And the reason that we did that is now I can come forward with my 8/0 Semper waxed, and I can get my segments in the back. So there's what's left of that nymphal body, and this is the part that's going to be emerging. So far pretty simple. So what we'll do is we can either take our Krinklezon and tie it back, just a little fold right there if we plan on using that to make the sparkle part of the crinkle sparkle bomb, but you could cut that off at this point in the game as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take some of our infamous Grizz Firzz that we've had for a long time at SRF. This one's in PMD. Little goes a long ways. I'm just going to cut, I don't know, a section of maybe, I don't know, maybe half that. Some fibers off of there, like so. Now I can put this away back in the bag, whatever, and I can just work with this guy. And so what we're looking for is we're looking to create that film critic or that cripple wing post that we have up there. And so I'm going to do this by using a small amount, and then I'm going to double it, giving us a cleaner back end on that cripple part and enough of this to float the hook. So the way we're going to do that is I'll take maybe 1 inch, 2 inches, whatever you're comfortable working with. Got a couple stragglers of the Krinklezon going on. Right on top of that, Just do a pinch like I would on any elk hair or any deer hair wing. Tie that down on top. In the middle, build a little spot here for my thorax. And now I'll just take and fold the Krinklezon forward. And that doubles the amount that's in there. Also gives us a real cool little split back if we do this. And I'll show you what we're going to do now with that crink to get that little split back. Once again with our K-Pop, really kick-ass dubbing. This stuff's made from what they used to fill life jackets with. Pretty crazy stuff, floats like a cork. Go in PMD color again, take a little clump. And I'm just gonna do a little noodle here, make a little ball right where I tied my Grizz Firzz in. Oops, that one picked up a little bit of dirto. So I'm just gonna make a real short little noodle that's pretty chunky, little cigar shape. And when you're combing or when you're wrapping these dubbings in, especially these finer synthetics, as you come around with your thread or with your dubbing noodle, if you'll take your finger and comb across the top on each one, you'll tighten that little loop as you go. I kind of popped it off of there, so I'll tighten it a little bit. But see how it's real loose on top, but if I comb that over as I go, I can keep that little tight ball a little better. So I completely flailed on that, but we're gonna fix it. Nice thing about tying with this stuff is you can manipulate it. I had the whole batch rotate on me. Didn't do enough thread wraps in there, but like I said, fixed it really easy. Now back to my little dubbing ball here. I'll just do a couple wraps behind it to tighten it up. In a perfect world, that wouldn't have went that way, but we saved it. So now we'll just take a little bit, that Krinklezon that we tied in for our tail, and we'll pull that over the bubble. And that'll be right back behind that Cripple wing. And that's what makes it the sparkle a bomb. Just a simple little emerger, or a little Cripple, excuse me. And now I'll prop that whole wing up with my thread. Once again, using 8/0, so it's pretty small in this 14. And remember, we're talking, at least for the PMDs over here, Henry Spork, whoops, South Fork, Silver Creek, yada, yada, yada. Skinny little teeny profiles tend to fish better, float better, all that kind of jazz. So keeping them sparse is key, and using this, simple 3 little material formula recipe, you can keep them pretty small. Now I'll just come in and cut that. The film critics, they're tying them really big so you can see them. You could sure do that, but I'm going to keep it a little bit more traditional wing length of the shank, and just give it a little clip like so. And you can see we kind of get that little comparadon effect on the front. I got a couple scraggles because I got loose on my dubbing ball, but you get the gist. And so there we have it, just a little simple Cripple. One step to get all that stuff done with the Krinklezon, a little bit of Sharpie and some thread, some K-Pop dubbing with floats like a cork, and our Grizz Firzz sticking out the front. Great little Cripple to put in your series with that loop wing that we tied, and we'll show you the other ends of the life cycle here soon. So appreciate it and happy time. Thanks much.